I know we have a lot to cover in the hour here, so while all of our listeners are coming in, I'm going to get started here, and I just want to welcome everyone to today's webinar with Renoun Skis. But before I get started, I'd like to touch base on a few housekeeping items. With all of our companies that we host in the webinars, Renoun Skis is actively raising on Netcapital right now. If you're interested in the business, I'm going to take a moment here and drop their investment link in the chat, and folks can view that at their leisure. Next, I do want to mention that we do want this webinar to be interactive as possible. So when asking the questions, please use the Q&A and not the chat button that I dropped the investment link in, but the Q&A, and I'll do my best to answer as many of the questions that are submitted. And I know that based on the signups that we have a lot of investors that will be joining that have previously invested in the business, as well as some folks that are interested in learning more. And like with the Q&A, I'm going to do my best to cover both sides of the aisle. But with that, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce founder and chief product officer Cyrus, as well as the CEO of Renoun Skis, Rob. And gentlemen, how are we doing today? Come on in.
Well, great. Well, thanks, Tom, and thank you, everybody, for joining us on this webinar. We're excited to get your questions and give you as authentic answers as we possibly can. Again, I'm Rob Golden. I'm the CEO of Renoun, and I'll let Cyrus introduce himself.
I'm Cyrus Shank, the founder of Renoun, and been here working at Renoun for 10 to 14 years, depending on how you count exactly.
So back to you, Tom. How do you want to kick this off?
Yeah, well, thank you, gentlemen. And it's been such a pleasure. I'm going to take a step back just from a personal standpoint. It's been such a pleasure getting to work with you and your team, going on several months now, and just the innovation that's behind the company. And I think that you have so much going on with Renoun Skis. So if we could just start high level, just giving a brief overview of the business, and then we can back into some more pointed questions.
Sure. I mean, I'll kind of just kick it off real quick, give it to Cyrus, and then he can kick it back to me. But I think first thing I want to say is, being the product that we have is a pretty exciting product to be part of, right? So who doesn't get excited when they talk about skis and skiing and things that generate fun? But this is a business, and we're treating this as a business. We're not in this because we want to go out and have great powder days. We're in this because we think that there's a real opportunity here to make a change and sort of disrupt an industry that's best thing I can liken it to is think about the beer industry when it was just Heineken and Anheuser-Busch, et cetera, and all these microbreweries came along. So keep that in the back of your mind as we go through this today. But I want to maybe talk, Cyrus, maybe give a little bit of overview of how did we get here?
Yeah, so if we wind the clock way back, like I said, so I started Renoun when I was in college, kind of a classic story, right? I was sitting in class, saw this really unique polymer, decided to try to put inside skis for some crazy reason, did some testing on it and dropped out. And for over the past 10 years, 14, depending on where you really count, but have constantly grown. We've never had a down year. We've always grown. Renoun was the first exclusive B2C ski company in North America. We've got multiple patents behind the biosub technology that really differentiates the skis and the special sauce behind them, and differentiates and protects them. And won a bunch of awards, and it's been a pretty wild ride. And the last year or two, I started to really think, really looking and thinking about my goals for the company, and realized that I couldn't do what I wanted to do with Renoun by myself. And a lot of people think that Renoun's, if you ask them historically, how many people are in the company? And people think there's 10, 15, maybe 20 folks that are in Renoun. And the reality is, prior to Robin's team, there was just two of us. There's myself and one other person full time. So it was definitely a lean and mean machine, and in my goals, my vision for the company going forward. And I realized it just I couldn't do it by myself. And so when Rob and I met, we kind of individually had our visions, and they aligned in so many ways that it became kind of a natural progression. And so I'm really excited to be working together with Rob and his team, and what we kind of have in the deck is the future I'm really excited about.
And maybe what I could do is just give a quick overview of how we as the Renoun Holdings team got here, and what Renoun Holding is versus Renoun Skis. because I think that can be confusing. So again, I'm the CEO of Renoun Skis, or also known as Renoun LLC. But I came into this with a group of other like-minded investment professionals who were looking for businesses that had a digital backbone and could scale and brought technology to an industry that would be disruptive and a business model to an industry that would be disruptive. So that's how we got to find Renoun. It wasn't necessarily our intention to go off and find a ski company, I can tell you that, but we wanted to find something that could really scale and could really grow. And we truly believe that's what we have with Renoun. In the big picture, just Renoun Holdings is essentially a special purpose vehicle built just for the purposes of investing into Renoun. So I know that can be a little confusing because while the investment goes into Renoun Holdings only invests in Renoun itself. So I know there'll be a lot of questions. We constantly get questions about that. So I'll be prepared to take more of those. But my personal background, just so people know, I come from the Big Four consulting space. I had a 20-year career working with Fortune 100, Fortune 50 large financial service firms, and my career was all about helping these large companies transform their business models, become more digital, but more importantly, become more customer focused. So how do you go from a product based point of view, like an insurance company would be something like auto insurance, home insurance, et cetera. Instead of looking at that way, look at it from how does the customer look at the company? And that's a big change. And that's really what Renoun is all about from a business model standpoint. We'll come back to that. But Tom, I hope we answered your question.
No, absolutely. And thanks, Rob, and thanks, Cyrus. And parlaying into the next question, because how this relationship came about is unique, and it's a unique opportunity, but it's an opportunistic endeavor. Cyrus, can you talk a little bit about your background? Because when I first one of the people that was on the investment team on Rob's side, they were explaining your background, and then I Googled you, and I was like, wow, this guy is dynamic. He's brilliant. And what you've done, and when you say lean, mean machine, what you ran up until the partnership with Rob, I am fascinated by what you've built over the last decade. So can you talk about your background, and then we can get into some of the other players on the team?
Yeah, so I guess it all started when I started selling lemonade in the corner of my street. Which now you say that, actually I realize like that's actually how it started. Even my sisters did the lemonade stand. But yeah, my entrepreneurship kind of bug started when I was really, really young. And my background from a technical perspective is I was an aeronautical engineering student at Clarkson University when I came across the material, and then I dropped out. So I don't have a ton of official schooling, but I like to think that Renoun has been more than a college experience, maybe an MBA, and I'm not sure if there's a PhD for business, but if there was, perhaps. So yeah, so I have some engineering background and some engineering training. I worked for GE. Over the last 10 years, I've become pretty familiar with the marketing world and branding and everything. So I've had my hands in a lot of pots. I'm really excited to kind of get back a little more to my roots of.
Well, you may want to talk about how you finance this business to begin with.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So let's see. I started road selling gardens when I was a kid. That turned into a window washing business. The window washing business funded Renoun for the first like 5 or so years. I know that no joke, I threw a party for like when we built actually the first pair of like skis and the factory that we're actually working today. I invited some of my window washing clients, and they all were like, I had no idea you did this on the side. I was like, yeah, well, it's just a fun project. And they're like, how can we help? So they became some of my first investors. And, at the time I'm like 19 years old or 20 or something like that. So yeah, it was pretty cool to have that progression. And then probably 5 or 6 years ago, Renoun became my full-time job. It was self-sustaining. And yeah, so it has been like one thing has funded the other. But I think the biggest thing, the really important thing though, is the first 5 years, because I was funding everything. If you had given me $1 million, I would have spent $1 million. But I really learned, and that's where like the lean mean side of things is like every dollar that I made, I was spending. So I was, very careful with where that went. And that even as we've grown and we've had obviously more cash coming in, then I'm always been very, very careful of that stuff. So really excited.
Cyrus, it's fascinating. I really appreciate you sharing that, because behind every great business, there's, not gonna say every, a lot of great businesses. There's an unconventional way of which the founders got there, and your story is by far one of my favorites. And I know when you partnered with Rob, you've brought on some a pretty robust, professional, and experienced team with you. Can you highlight some of the folks that are in your group?
Yeah, so it's the group that came in when we first started looking at Renoun was a combination of Golden Opportunity Consulting, which is run by my brother, Rick Golden, who came out of very senior role out of Accenture when he left there. In fact, even ran their part of their venture business. But Rick was in a very senior role, chief of staff to the CEO at Accenture, and had a number of very important roles as industry head in retail in Europe, et cetera. So we had that backbone. We had New Technology Ventures, which is a venture firm out of Boston, who've done a lot of these type of special investments in more on the technology side, like crazy technology like quantum computing and things like that, and nanotechnology, and but this what we found with VibeStop is actually quite interesting and in line with that. Plus, some of the founders of NTV had background in the ski industry, so it was just a good fit. Plus, on top of that, my background with a lot of subject matter experts in marketing and finance, et cetera, that we brought to the table to do the due diligence on Renoun. And I think Cyrus might say it was one step less than a proctology exam, but we did 6 months of due diligence on this company, and in ways I don't think he necessarily.
I learned a lot.
So we were very confident that in the decision we were making, and we brought, as I said, a lot of very experienced subject matter experts to the table when we dug in and pulled this thing apart.
Yeah, and I think one thing to kind of expand on that too is we kind of joke about this now, but when the first meeting that Rob and I had, I was like, "Hey, Rob, there's no offense here, but you're more of a business guy than a skier," and that I think is a huge benefit, because the ski industry has so many people who are just diehard skiers. They just want to go power skiing on from helicopters, and the reality is you can't scale that. That's a really hard thing. So Rob brings a lot of business, like real business experience, and I know I've learned a lot, certainly, but having Rob's his experience from understanding how big picture things work and applying that to accelerate what we already have, I think that to me is really exciting, because there's plenty of ski companies who just are chasing the big fat pow skis, and it's really fun, it's awesome, but it's just really hard to scale that sort of thing. So that's not what we're trying to do.
Yep, and we're going to get into that in a moment, because I know where the company was last year and then already off to a fast start this year. We can talk about some of the scalability, but let's take a step back and talk about the problem in the ski industry. So I want to break this up into two questions. One is, Cyrus, when you think of VibeStop, which is the technology within the Renoun skis, and one of the things that, at least from my vantage point of folks that have contacted me through Netcapital, is very interesting in how it's applied. So that problem and that technology, and then what you're solving with it, and then just overall how high touch Renoun has been with your customers, because I think there's a big problem with the disconnect between brand and a customer. So if we can talk about those two things, I think that would be very helpful.
Great, Tom. So I'm going to let Cyrus talk about VibeStop, and and we'll be honest. I think we sometimes have a little trouble putting it in layman's terms, but I'm going to challenge him to do that.
Yeah, so I'll try to avoid the science talk and getting into like the physics of how that stuff works. But at the end of the day, VibeStop is it's classified under a non-Newtonian material. In our case, it's a polymer. We put that inside of a pair of skis. When you ski faster, the Vibe Stop absorbs a lot of vibrations and it decreases the chatter. So you have more control and better performance on the hill. And one of the performance benefits, apart from having, more time with the edge touching the snow and better grip, is we've started hearing this time and time again that I had no intention of. But customers come in all the time and say, like, my knees don't hurt, my knees don't hurt, my knees don't hurt. And obviously decreasing vibrations, which is what this stuff does. And that is going to lead to other things. In this case, less vibrations, less chattering knees. We've got tons of customers who say they can ski longer than they ever have, or they are skiing again when they couldn't ski before because of this technology. So, I came from this from like a numerical, how do we improve performance? How do we decrease vibration, make the ski more stable? And turns out that I'm not gonna say health benefits, but turns out there's a lot of other benefits that we're hearing from our customers that are really, really enjoying it. And, that's also the demographic that can afford our skis and, many pairs.
Yeah, I mean, I will point out, Tom, that this is new news, but we, as Sarah said, it wasn't the intention to develop Vibe Stop to be something that is lessens the impact of skiing on the body. I think that was a derivative. And by the way, I don't think Cyrus mentioned, but Vibe Stop is patented by Renoun. We have 2 patents on it. So they're in all snow sports, we're the only company that can put a non-Newtonian polymer fluid into a ski or a snowboard. So with things to come there. But I did want to mention that we actually have a knee surgeon who has tested all of our skis. He is a pretty well-renowned knee surgeon here on the East Coast. Has done hundreds, if not thousands, of knee surgeries. And he himself has 2 partially replaced knees, and he is ready to actually give his opinion that these skis absolutely improve the impact on your knees. And so that's something we will be probably announcing in the next 2 weeks with his endorsement. So that's very noteworthy.
Yeah, and I think the Vibe Stop, from a performance perspective, the nice thing is that it genuinely and truly is a new material that no one can, but no one has put inside skis before. So, I always say there's a million skis out there, and it's true. I mean, you can walk into any ski shop and there's 10 skis for you in your price point that you want, and 10 skis for somebody else's price point. So the options are endless, and it's true. Vibe Stop is a genuinely unique material that has not been put inside of a ski before, and nor will they be able to because of the patents we have. So it is cool. We've actually tested it on a bench. From a third-party lab, we know it works from a numerical lab perspective, but obviously from all the anecdotal evidence, including knee surgeons.
I mean, I'm going to ask Cyrus real quick, and then I'm going to talk about the other side of this, which is what you talked about, the customer side of this, Tom. But I think it's a good lead in. You just got a call 2 days ago from out of the blue.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it's really important. It'd be great if you could share that, because
Yeah,
we hear this often.
Yeah.
And over and over again.
Yeah, I still pick up the phone sometimes. It's fun to talk to customers or potential customers and just hear what their thoughts are, to get a sense of what people are talking about. And this guy called in and he was just going on about how much he loved the skis, and I was kind of waiting for like the shoe to drop, and he would be like, "But I pulled out of my binding," or like, "But this happened," and he was like, "These are just the best. I've been skiing for 40 years. I've been patrolling a Vail for 35. I ski 75. I've skied 75 days so far this year. I love these skis. I have nothing but good things to say." And he was like, "That's it. I just wanted to call and say I love your skis and thank you for creating a great product." And I was like, "Wow, cool. Thanks for calling." So,
and I mean, I can't tell you how many times that story has been repeated over and over in the short time that I've been here CEO, which is just the middle of January. So that's not unique. But I think what is unique about you, Renoun, is if you put it in perspective of back to the problem we're trying to solve for, Tom, which is, okay, let's look at it at the ski industry. And as I said early on when we opened up, let's think a little bit about comparing it to, what happened in the beer industry. The large ski companies virtually have zero relationship with the end customer. In fact, they have no relationship with the end customer. So if you were to if you ski on Vocals or Rossignol or pick the company today, and they all make great skis. I would absolutely say that with their products are great products. But the issue is they have no relationship with the customer. They don't even know who they are. They've never talked to a customer. They talk to their dealers. They talk to their distributors. They talk to their demo programs and they talk to their athletes, but they never talk to their customers in a way, in a one-on-one basis. Sure. So, and that's the issue. That's what I saw coming into the industry when I started looking at this, saying, well, there's an opportunity here for a company that wants to come in and be the customer-focused company. And so the fact that a ski patrol can call up and talk to the guy who designed the skis, that doesn't happen in this industry. And that's our opportunity. And that's the problem I think we're trying to solve for, Tom. So, and we're making great progress on that. And one way I know that is because over 70%, almost 70% of the people that have invested on Netcapital are actually Renoun customers. So they believe in this company.
Yeah. No, and it's such a unique and I think just very cool opportunity to be an investor in something that you love, right? And clearly, one of the first things I remember with talking to Rob, a gentleman in your group, was just the affinity and the passion that people have for the Renoun brand. And Cyrus, with what you've built. And then I see your ads on social media, Cyrus, a lot of you and that high touch approach, if you will, with reaching out to people and communicating. I think it's a unique strategy, and at least the feedback that we're getting, it's something that folks really appreciate, which I think is wonderful.
And I would just say, like, we haven't even tried, in the sense that, you know, the feedback loop that Renoun currently has is just a natural progression of our distribution model, and just, you know, me being scrappy in the early days kind of stuff. But what I'm really excited for is like when we actually try, right? And that's what Rob's his expertise are, and like what happens when you have a feedback loop on purpose, and then what happens if you start nurturing those clients instead of just asking, you know, waiting for them to call you. Like, you can be proactive with that stuff. So that's really exciting to me, is if our repeat customer rate is what it is today without us doing anything, like, this would be crazy.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. And so shifting over to the market and talking about the market opportunity for the product, can you guys allude to how big that is for Renoun?
Yeah, so I mean, let's talk big picture real quick. So if you look at the ski market overall, not including the snowboard market, but if you look at the ski market overall, 3.7 million pairs of skis are sold every year around the globe, okay, to 55 million skiers. In the US, that's 15 million skiers, and 1 million of those skis get sold here in the US. Okay, so those are good numbers. I mean, it's not it's not the market for Apple phones, which is billions, but we also have a few dominant players that are ripe for, as I think, also that are ripe for disruption. And when you think about it, people think, well, is the skiing industry declining because of climate change? Yes, climate change is a threat, but guess what? On a year after year, there are and they measure the health of the industry on skier visits here in the U.S. There were 59 million skier visits traditionally year over year. Last year, that number shot up to almost 65 million. So the ski industry is healthy, and I think that organizations, you can debate whether they. I think there was an article in the Wall Street Journal on billionaires, you know, saving the ski industry or destroying the ski industry. But things like the Icon Pass and the Epic Pass, they are making more mountains more accessible to people. And we know who our customers are, and they are definitely the people that are buying the Icon Pass and using it, and the Epic Pass and using it, and that, in my opinion, is where we're coming from. So what does Renoun need to do to be successful? We actually sold 1,100 pairs of skis last year, which, okay, that seems fairly small in such a large industry. But what is noteworthy about that is that we were profitable at that number. So now we just need to scale. And do we need to be the next Rossignol Vocal making 200,000, 400,000 pairs of skis a year? Absolutely not. We can be phenomenally successful by hitting 10,000 to 15,000 pairs of skis a year. So when you put that into perspective, that's really what our market looks like. It's so.
Yeah, and I think that it's you know, you use the word disruption, and it's right for disruption, which is exactly, you know, Cyrus, what you've built, why you've teamed with Rob, and then obviously scaling that up, exactly what you said, Rob. Pausing for a sec, we just got a question in from one of the folks who have joined us listening in, and the question is what is your thinking in getting other brands' customers to shift to Renoun skis? So folks that are passionate, they're already out there using another product line, shifting to Renoun.
Yeah, that's a great question because, you know, certainly that if you walk into any ski shop and you walk to the ski wall, there's there's a myriad of skis up there, and it just your head starts buzzing. What's the right ski for me? And how do we stand out in that marketplace, right? Particularly when there are large brands marketing and, you know, with large marketing dollars. And I think the way we differentiate ourselves is exactly that, by really understanding our customers. We need to build more brand awareness. There's no question about that. So we are going to spend on brand awareness, but our customers are already our best salespeople. And you couldn't get better salespeople on the mountain than that. And if you get,
And you know,
well, I challenge you to, you know, get on a chairlift next to somebody with Renoun skis and ask them about, hey, what do you like those skis? The entire ride up the chairlift, they'll be talking about the skis and what they love, and we hear that over and over and over again, and we're excited about that. So how do we differentiate? There's three ways we differentiate. Number one, we have to understand who our customers are, who our best customers are, and go out and get more like them. That the ability to be a digital brand allows us the flexibility and the scalability to do that without building, you know, a lot of overhead for the company. Number two, we need to selectively build both demo programs and programs with key clubs where our customers are, and we are doing that. And number three, we need to build a brand experience and a customer experience online with our customers so that they're actually treated differently than any other company would treat them. And we are doing that. So I think, yes, it's a crowded marketplace, particularly with skis. But I will say that, and any skier out there would know, nobody takes the decision lightly about which ski they want to buy next. They think about it. They really want to make the right choice, and we don't treat it like a commodity. And I think some of the other companies in the industry have gotten to that sort of mindset that they think that they put hundreds of thousands of skis out there, so it almost becomes a commodity sale to them. That's not the way we look at it. To us, it's a very high value, high touch sale.
Mm-hmm. And we have the bandwidth to do that as a B2C company. We have the direct line of communication to everybody who's bought a pair of skis. And, you know, the example that Rob always gives is, you know, if you ride a Atomic or Rossi or Solomon, like, they make amazing skis, they're awesome. If you call them, you know, assuming you can find the phone number, you're gonna give them a ring and they're gonna be like, who is this? Like, why are you calling us? Do you have a warranty problem? Like, talk to your dealer. Like, why? Get off the line. We have a direct line of communication with them, and, you know, already as it currently stands, and we're building out an even more robust version of it, so that you can really nurture that relationship with an individual. So yes, they might talk about the skis, they're going up the hill, but then you can empower them to, you know, to share even further, to get more people on the skis. So it's right now it's a million skis in the US are sold in the US every year, going to just trickling down to consumers' hands. There's almost no like reciprocal communication going the other way. And we're turning that faucet on so that there's a two-way street for our customers.
And again, Tom, I'll leave with the thought that, you know, we're not looking to sell 100,000 pairs of skis. We don't need to do that to be successful.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think that you're well on your way. And with, you said it was 1,100 pairs of skis last year that you sold?
Right. And actually we've ordered this year coming up. This is where I came in and pushed Cyrus. I said we ordered 2,500 for this year coming up, and we're extremely confident that we're going to be selling 2,500.
Yeah.
Rob, thank you for segueing into that. So talk to you a little bit, the progression of Renoun is what has fascinated me since we started engaging with your team and Netcapital. Can you talk a little bit about last year? We know that 1,100 pairs of skis were sold, but the transition of the business, and then really what the focus is this year on selling those 2,500 skis.
So, if I understand your question correctly, Tom, what went into selling the success from the 22-23 season, and how are we taking that forward into the 24-25 season? Is that a fair?
Yep. If we could highlight some benchmarks last year and then allude to where the company's going this year, that would be wonderful.
Right. And I think that the first part of it starts with what's ours, and I'm going to let him talk about this. The first part of it talks about the digital marketing and the process that you've used all along to connect with customers. And I will say that, just so you understand, we sold 1,100 pairs of skis at the top of our funnel. And this is the way I think, because this is how I built a career. The top of our funnel, we had over 400,000 qualified leads come into the top of our funnel. Okay. One of the problems, being in all honesty, is we were only converting 0.24% of those leads.
That's 0.24%.
The issue is, when I look at it, I said, okay, well, that's not necessarily a problem. That's actually an opportunity, because a well-functioning e-commerce site should be converting about 1% to 1.5% of the leads that come in the top of the funnel, the qualified leads. So we're leaving a lot of, let's just say we're leaving a lot of sales on the table. So if we had fixed just that problem, which I think of it as a blocking and tackling problem, Tom, it's not a strategic problem. It's a doing a better job of nurturing marketing leads, nurturing the process leads to the checkout process, and putting in your cart and actually making sure people check it out. We would have sold that year 5,500 to 6,000 skis. So that's what we left on the table by fixing that problem. It creates a great leap forward in scale. But I think a lot of it has to do with all the things you've learned about digital marketing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of B2C ski brands out there. I've been doing this for 10 years, and there's a lot to learn. And some are more successful than others. And I genuinely hope that everybody is successful. I do think that the more online businesses or online ski companies, rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. But the reality is we've got some time, a lot of time in most of these companies, in some cases 8 years. So there's a ton of small little detail tweaks, things that not only have we learned, but we are starting to see trends and trajectories. So we kind of can plan for the future and how we can do that. And again, having more bandwidth now, there's a lot of stuff that in the previous years that I would love to do. And right before this call, actually, Rob and I were talking about, okay, we've got a pair of skis, which one's going to which rider at Forbes, and which one's going to go to Gear Patrol and Men's Journal, and just trying to figure out where that stuff that in the past was like, it just didn't have, not to sound silly, but it really didn't have time to get a free pair of skis to somebody who writes for a really notable magazine. So I know it's a simple example, but it's one of many, many, many things that as we have a little more bandwidth, both myself, Rob, and the rest of the team, right, and knowledge in each of these categories is going to be very powerful moving forward.
I guess to put a crescendo on it, Tom, I would say that when we walked in, Cyrus is wearing a lot of hats, right? Mm-hmm. And not all of those hats were, I mean, as an entrepreneur and a sole owner, he had to wear them, but not all of those hats were using the best. We're applying the best of his talent. Yeah. We want to get him back to designing skis and thinking about the customer and how to innovate, and which he's tremendous at. Let's take away the things about the accounting and the other problems that a company that has a sole owner has to tackle. That takes them away from doing the actual value add things that make the product better and make the company more valuable.
Yeah.
Appreciate you both explaining that, and want to parlay off that with a question that just came in. Two-part question, which is, would you consider moving into ancillary products such as safety gear, goggles, clothing, etc., as it pertains to the ski industry? And then the second question is about the licensing of the technology, VibeStop. Would you consider licensing that technology to other sports or other applications that may be applicable?
Sure. So let me take the first part of the question, and I'm going to ask
Yep.
Cyrus to talk about the licensing issue, because of course we would, but I think you got to put it in perspective. So we envision that somewhere in the not in a reasonable time horizon, 5-6 years, that we need to be thinking about what's the right liquidity event for our investors. And, that could take a lot of different forms. I mean, obviously a popular one in the market, people always want to talk about IPO. I doubt that would be the right way for a company like Renoun to go, but it's possible. What I do think is highly likely is if we can create an ecosystem of brands that are complementary to each other, and that ecosystem can begin to work as a functioning organization for our customers. That's a great opportunity. So we actually even had our one of our first conversations with another brand today, a complementary brand, about how we can work together, starting with just basic co-marketing types of things, where our customers are also their customers, and start to normalize the revenue cycle so that we're not just a hard goods company that's completely seasonal. We can start to become more of a brand within an ecosystem of brands, and that's something that is part of our strategic direction. And I'm happy to go into more in that, but I think on the licensing side, that's a really interesting thing. So first, of course, we would license it, but why don't you talk about what has happened in the past?
Yeah, so we've actually been approached by a couple of companies. Most of you guys if most are well known. The longest short of it is they can't afford it. VibeStop is an expensive technology.
Well, let me take a step back. You were talking to an actual large manufacturer of skis.
Yes.
And when you say they can't afford it, that of course they can afford it, but it's within their margin. So why don't you talk about where it fits?
So it's a good clarification here. So most of these big ski brands, right? They have high volume, and it's all about margin. They're pinching. Like, I kid you not, I've talked to people who have been in meetings. They're like, we're trying to save 5 cents on the sidewall, 10 cents on the top sheet, and 4 cents on the base. And that's what they're trying to get the cheapest product they can while still being good enough to sell on the wall and get people to still buy another pair in a couple of years, kind of thing. So when you start introducing VibeStop, which is inherently it's an expensive material, it provides a high value for the skier. There's no way to slot it into their cost structure. They just cannot afford to bring that ski.
Right.
So
I mean, just to make it specific, they wanted to the conversation was around adding $1 to the cost of their skis. That's what they could tolerate. And so I said, well, that wouldn't even make sense for us
that doesn't even cover
we couldn't even pay our lawyers with that. And he suggested $10 for licensing per ski, and they said, oh, we can't afford that.
Yeah.
So that's the problem the industry has right now.
Yeah, I mean, some would call it race to the bottom. At the end of the day, it's just a race to just squeeze the margin, because that's the cost of building skis is slowly going up, and they're getting more and more squeezed. So,
and to kind of put that in perspective, our margins are close to 60%. Our gross margin.
We don't care if we get $5, $10.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I don't want to speak for you, bro, but I think that's not our concern. Our concern is making the best ski we can, and then sell it.
Those margins are incredible, comparing it to the industry. Can you talk a little bit about how and why you're able to do that?
Well, first of all, we're a direct-to-consumer brand, right? Number two, we're lean. We have not. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do. I'm just saying I wouldn't do it this way. We didn't go out and build a R&D factory or a factory. We don't have a team. We didn't go out and hire a big team and then try to figure out how we're going to pay for that team. we're growing, and we're going to continue to grow incrementally as the revenue supports that growth. So other companies take a different approach. I will say that we're starting off this journey, Renoun Holdings, with this acquisition with zero debt and a profitable P&L. So we're in a great place, and we can take on cost incrementally where it makes sense. Our biggest cost is marketing right now, which is a variable cost that if we need to, we can ramp it up or ramp it down.
Yeah.
So we don't have a lot of headcount. We have a very good relationship with our factory that can scale with us in Quebec. We don't have huge distribution costs from the factory, because when COVID shut down a lot of industries that were relying on China, and their products sat either in China or on ships across, somewhere in the ocean, we can drive across the border and go pick up our skis if we need to do that. So we're in a great place.
Yeah, and just to touch more on the factory front, for people's reference, so Utopia, they are the contract manufacturer that we work with, is either the 9th or 10th year, depending on how you count it. But we've worked with them for a long time. We already have, like Rob said, skis in order for next year. That's going to drastically increase our volume. But going out and buying a factory is definitely not in our purview. It's not, it's 2024. We can literally pick up the phone and call 20 to 50 factories around the world to build skis faster, cheaper, and higher quality, honestly, than if we did it ourselves. So not at all something we want to do. We 100% of our skis are made in North America right now, and they will be in the future. Down the road, well, we haven't even started selling to Europe, but we would imagine that we'd look into, and we would start the process looking at factories in Europe, but European based for the European market kind of thing. So just want to really clarify that we are not going to China.
Right, and remember, Europe in a market where the U.S. is only 1/3 or less than 1/3, 1/4 of the market. We have not even made an attempt to touch the other 3/4 of the buying market, and certainly we're going to do that economically, because we need diversification in manufacturing. We are really happy with Quebec, and that they are our core manufacturing, but we need to look at diversification, and Europe and Eastern Europe would be great places to start to look, because when we also get some economies on distribution costs, so that will be great as well.
No, absolutely. And we must have a couple folks from New England and the East on this webinar, because people have asked quite a bit on this during this conversation about demo days. Are you guys doing demo days right now throughout New England and the East?
We're doing very select demo days, and we recognize that is something. That's a challenge that we have to come up with a better solution for Renoun, but not the same solution that the rest of the industry has. So we are looking at different ways to do demo day. We call it demo days done differently. So we have a little different vision, and I can tell you that we did one just 2 weeks ago at Stowe with a club on the mountain, and I knew that every person walking out of that club doing our private demo could afford several pairs of the skis. We didn't have to worry about where the skis were all over the mountain, taking licenses and credit cards, and just having a couple of kids stand there and hand out skis. People got to talk to Cyrus. We actually wanted to do a cocktail party the night before, just to do that. So we're going to do demo days differently, and we're going to do it very carefully, and we're going to make sure we get a lot of value out of it, not just standing on the side of a hill, handing out skis. One thing that we do right now in lieu of that is we have the most liberal and the most flexible return policy in the industry. We let you take skis for 6 months. You get 5 days to try them, and you can send them back for a full refund. It's pretty much risk-free. Obviously, if they come back and they're all beaten up and you've been jumping off cliffs, landing on rocks, we're gonna know it. But but it's sort of, it's one step towards a better option for customers.
Yeah, and when we're just like to put some numbers on the demo side of things, less than the numbers are less than 10% of the people who buy skis ever end up demoing. So as much as I want to demo skis, and certainly we're all familiar with demoing product, the real numbers are 10%. So one of the reasons why we don't have an entirely fleshed out demo program today is for that exact reason, is we want to be very careful. Like we get 9% to sell to already, and as we expand for the demos, we're going to be very, very specific and make sure we're not just trying to get every single person out there on the skis, because we're not trying to be Rosnell. If we're Rosnell, great, so let's do a demo day everywhere, but we're Renoun.
Yeah, well, I would argue that you guys have the best demo day option in the business. And Rob, it's exactly what you said. You get to try the skis on your time. So you're not going to a mountain trying to meet with this company. You get to try the ski on your time. And you have a sizable window to say, all right, this is a good fit or not.
Yeah, and I'll say our return rate. Yeah, our return rate is very, very low.
Less than
and we pay for shipping it back. So it's not like we make it even hard. But no one returns their skis.
Yeah, and I think that goes into the next question is, do you guys, and I'm sure you know this, but the percentage of customers that are repeat customers ever now?
Yeah, so it's right now we're close to 40% of our customers are repeat customers.
Wow.
And many of them are on their third pair of skis from Renoun. And I'm not talking about that because they bought 3 at the same time. I'm talking about they've come back and bought again and again. And we're extremely proud of that. In the model we're going to, I believe we can push that up to over 50%, 55 to 60%. And I also believe that the model that we want to develop, which is with our Club Renoun membership program, it's the real purpose is for us to create a recurring revenue model where when I look at this, I say, okay, our cost of acquisition, and this is systemic in the ski industry. You look at your cost of acquisition, when I look at it, I said, okay, it's getting close to $200 per customer. And the way the ski industry thinks about that, yes, it's $200. If I sold 10,000 skis this year and I want to go out and grow by 10%, so that means I need to sell 11,000 skis next year. Their model is go find 11,000 new customers. That's crazy, because after a while you run out of customers and they can't keep cycling through. Our model is, no, we're going to spend on customer experience, keep our customers, bring them back every couple of years, make it easy for them to quickly come back by some very different kind of pricing strategies and ski swap, if you will, where we're going to actually send them a new pair of skis every 2 years, and they don't have to think about going anywhere else. I can lower our cost of acquisition by spending on customer experience by over 37%. So that automatically drives our costs down, but it also will have almost 35% of our revenues will be recurring revenues, which we don't have to work for. That's a model that doesn't exist in this industry today. And because they don't think that way, it's a paradigm shift. But that's okay. That's why disruptive companies come in and shake things up.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I want to give us enough time just to talk about, what's most exciting that's up and coming for Renoun from each of you. I think one thing that I'm taking away from this demo day is that people love hearing from the folks that are really spearheading and running this business. And then that we've seen, it's been the opportunity for a lot of customers to turn into investors. So Cyrus, let's start with you. As you think of going into 2024 and then looking ahead to 2025, talk about the future of the business and some of the things that you're most excited for. And then Rob, would love to end with you.
Yeah, only the juicy one about the portal fleet rock, because that one's I am excited about what Rob's going to talk about. But for me, it's product. I serve Renoun in literally my dorm room, and the breakers would blow because I would be drawing too many amps to do the heating blankets to make skis and stuff like that. And over the years, as Renoun's grown, I've had to wear more and more hats, and I'm really excited to be able to go back. Not saying back to my roots, I certainly have grown a little bit since then, but go and focus more on the skis. I'm really proud of the skis we have today, And I think that we have our lineup is we got 5 models, and it's very specific. We're not trying to fill up an entire ski wall. It's not the goal. Nor do I want to. That's not what we're going to go do. But going back and really making sure we have to fine-tune comb on all the models, working on the brand. I'm proud of the Renoun brand. But again, it's something that I did while wearing a bunch of different hats. There's so much left we can do to really shore up and strengthen the outward perception of Renoun, both from a physical perspective, like the ski, or the digital perspective, like the ads and the website kind of thing. And so I'm really excited to make sure that our visual foot and our product foot is the best going forward, so that when Rob comes in, or as Rob comes in and builds out what he's doing, it's going to be the 1-2 punch that really knocks this thing out of the park. So, I mean, this is what's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, from my perspective, there's some underlying building blocks we need to put in place, but the purpose of those building blocks is to build on that customer relationship we have, and really create the sort of I like to call it the concierge experience in the industry. So the same kind of experience and we know who our customers are. They're high net worth people. They don't really worry about spending $1,000 on a pair of skis, but they do worry about making sure they got the right ski, that they're treated correctly. They want to be treated the same way that their country club treats them, that their luxury hotel treats them, and that's what they expect. They want to have a relationship with their brand, and they want the brand to really stand for something that they also stand for. So that's at the basis of what the way we have to build our identity, and what Cyrus has already done with Renoun. I wish I could. Everything that we've accomplished right now with our customers is to his credit. I mean, I just came on board back in January. I have nothing to do with the loyalty that the customers have with Renoun right now. I hope I can improve on that and build on that, but it's to Cyrus's credit. And what we need to do is build a digital experience for our customers where they feel that it's the same kind of experience digitally and virtually that they get when they walk into their ski clubs, into their country clubs, right? Getting their BMWs or their Audis, which are the cars that they drive, and that they have a relationship with us, that they know, if they know that they can not only interact with us digitally online, but they can call us, and they're going to get a live person on the phone. So, but to do that, we have to build some technology. This is kind of to me, it's sort of bread and butter stuff that I would always expect and always worked with companies on, which is build a customer portal, build a place where they can log into, and they have their own personalized experience, and build a community that they can work with, a virtual community of other people like them. And then we can do more and more exciting things, like bring other brands into that, or even offer them experiences. So I'll give you one example, like in this demo day that we did with the organization up here at Stowe. One of the members said to me, we don't care about discounts. We don't even want discounts. What we care about is the experience we're getting from the skis. And hey, if your athlete, I'm not sure if I'll say his name, but Matt, he's a legend up here. And if we could ski with him for a day, that's valuable to us. And so we want to create those kinds of experiences and be able to offer that, because that's what makes our customers excited. They're really excited about the skis. They're really excited about the relationship with Renoun, but there's more things that we can do to enhance that excitement. And believe me, nobody in the ski industry is thinking that way.
Yeah. No, guys, this has been so informative and exciting of where the company is going. But in the last 2 minutes here, just wrapping up, hearing from both of you, 2 minutes, why if someone hasn't invested in Renoun already and they're thinking about doing so, why someone should invest in the business now? Why is now the time to invest in Renoun?
Well, I'll start with the basics, right? So no debt, great financial picture to launch from, and we're ready to scale. We're working with a factory who's positioned us to scale. So all the right ingredients are ready for us to take off and take the next step. And then I would say, hey, there was a time when people thought that, geez, what a microbrewery, how are they going to take on that big Goliath and Anheuser-Busch and Heineken? Well, guess what? That industry has changed quite a bit.
Sure.
So I'm not saying we're the David in this story, biblical story, but we really have a clear vision about where we're going to go. We really have a clear idea on how we're going to get there, and we have many of the right skills in place, and we're going to bring a few more key skills in place to make this happen.
Yeah, I think like a big picture, Renoun currently is a seasonal hard goods business. We sell skis, right? The shift that Rob's talking about with the portal, the membership program and stuff like that, that's shifting it into a recurring revenue model. Those are completely different things. And we have already shown that Renoun can be successful and is already successful with the seasonal ski business, right? But if we're able to successfully transition to a recurring revenue model, it is a completely different game for Renoun moving forward. So
And for the industry.
And for the industry, like I was, already yesterday or something, I was like, we genuinely have opportunity to single-handedly shift an entire industry, because there's, like Rob said, there's so much that's ripe for disruption here. And we just happen to be, fortunately, we got the 10-year head start, and we're the ones, I believe that we're the ones here that are perfectly positioned to challenge everybody else and show them that you can do things differently. Like every single ski on the side, it says welcome to the future, and rules are meant to be broken. Renoun's about the future. It always has been. So this is it.
Yeah, and it sounds like, in Cyrus, getting to know you and kind of seeing what you've done up until this point, and now Rob and your group coming in, it's been a bandwidth issue, and now you have it. And
Right.
so I like what you said, Cyrus, about that 10-year head start, and now having a partner like Rob and his team. I'm just so excited for you both and the business, and just really delighted to be alongside with you from the funding portal standpoint, and allowing everyday folks to invest, whether they're accredited or non-accredited.
One of the things we're really excited about working with Netcapital is the fact that, hey, we identify ourselves as a customer-focused business, and Netcapital allows our customers and people like our customers to invest in us. We're not exclusive to, like, a venture firm, to accredited or qualified investors who have $5 million in assets and are the only people who can get access to companies like Renoun. That's what's so exciting about being part and working with Netcapital is the people that we want to that have come aboard with us as customers are also being able to come aboard with us as investors, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, Rob, and just to that point, as we wrap up here, folks can take a look at the offering right now. Go to netcapital.com/renownskis and learn more about all the exciting things that Cyrus and Rob and their team are building. And one can invest for as little as $100. And I know we've processed folks that have written 6-figure checks so far. So you guys are off to a great start. And again, we're so happy and delighted to be with you alongside you during this journey, and really excited to see what's in store over the next 10 months of this year, and continuing to see the business to grow. So I know how busy you both are. Thank you so much for being with us today. And Rob, you want to wrap us up?
I can't see everybody out there, but we are really grateful that you spent an hour with us. We know your time's valuable, but we think we have a good story. We hope you agree. We're grateful for this opportunity to talk to everybody.
Yeah. Rob, really appreciate you saying that. And with that, thank you all for joining us today, and those who will listen to this in the future. Again, netcapital.com/renownskis to learn more about what Rob, Cyrus, and their team are building with this extremely exciting company. Gentlemen, congratulations on your success thus far, and we look forward to following you in the future. Thank you so much for being with us today.
All right. Thanks, everyone.